Each of the remaining EU27 have to agree to anything put forward by the European Commission, who are handling the negotiating on behalf of the entire bloc. According to a senior EU source, it was easy for members to agree on Phase 1 negotiations, the Irish border, so-called Brexit bill and citizens' rights, because they mutually benefit one another. However, things may soon become slightly tougher for Jean-Claude Juncker's Commission, as no doubt hundreds of different requests come flooding in from each member on how they see the UK's post-Brexit relationship with Europe. EU bosses spent 7 years negotiating its Ceta free trade agreement with Canada, which was almost brought crashing down by Belgium's French-speaking region of Wallonia. GETTYEU unity to crack under the weight of Brexit negotiations, predicts MEP Up. Until now, the EU have not had to consider any issues that divide them. Ashley Fox Ceta's signing ceremony was cancelled after Wallonia's leaders vetoed the agreement because of extra demands. Wallonia demanded stronger safeguards on labour, environmental and consumer standards. Leaders also wanted more protection for Walloon farmers, who would face competition from Canadian imports. Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel held marathon talks in order to avert a complete Ceta collapse. Mr. Michel himself has to negotiate with 5 regional leaders before he can offer Belgium's blessing to the European Council to ratify deals. Leading Conservative MEP Ashley Fox predicts Brexit negotiations could go in the same direction as each member state puts forward its own proposals. Speaking to Express.co.uk, Mr. Fox said, "Up until now, the EU has been united because they have been talking about money and citizens. Of course the EU is united on money, because it wants as much as possible of our money. And citizens, naturally, they want the best rights possible for them. Up until now, the EU have not had to consider any issues that divide them. But on the issue of a free trade agreement, there will be differences." Mr. Fox pointed toward the Italian Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni, who said Britain must be offered an entirely bespoke deal, which contradicted the European Commission's chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier's insistence that there is no way to such an agreement. Similar differences appear from Finland's European Affairs Minister Sampo Terho, who said his country's Brexit negotiators would push for as much frictionless trade as possible between the UK and EU. Mr. Fox added, "There are different voices in the EU who recognise a comprehensive free trade deal is in Britain's interest and the EU's interests. Not only does the Commission have to please each member of the European Council, the European Parliament plays an important role in Brexit. While not actually holding a formal role, Parliament says its right to withhold consent to the final agreement offers it political leverage to influence the agreement and effectively makes it a veto player." One of Parliament's most senior MEPs, Hans Olaf Henkel, has been using his position to demand Britain is offered a new deal to entice the country back into the EU. The German politician told Express.co.uk, Britain should be offered the same as if Britain never left the common market. What is good for British industry is also good for European industry. Otherwise, Brexit will be a lose-lose situation for both, but where one person has an opinion, another often has an entirely different one. Plenary sessions in the European Parliament often descend into shouting matches as MEPs clash over differing Brexit outlooks.